Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
In the haunted house at night, watch your step, don't slip, hold tight. Cords and clutter on the floor, trip once and you'll scream for more. Boo-hoo hazards, don't be blind. Wear your gear and you'll be fine. Spooky sounds and PPE, that's the way to safety. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's Halloween week. We have the AI inspired, or I should say, the music is safety inspired. Safety, right? Halloween music. That's what we do here. So I accidentally got a subscription for a year for AI music program. I won't mention which one. And so we're getting a lot of AI music here. We have it for all different kinds of occasions here. Right? I don't know. Maybe we'll release a whole compilation here one of these days. Alright, so that was Spooky Hello, Halloween, and Haunted Sparks in a little bit. On hot work, the dangers of hot work in Halloween. How's everybody doing? Is it really October 30th coming tomorrow? Very solemn, a very solemn anniversary here. It was tomorrow's 2 years after my mother's death. So we're paid to start out on a negative note or with that, but remember, it's that this is life and these things happen. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean we have to like them, but it does mean that we have to move on with that. So if you are feeling depressed, feeling anything with suicidal thoughts or anything like that, 988-POUND, right? There is help out there for you. Mental health, very important. I'm glad we're having those conversations nowadays. It's not like it used to be way back in the day. We mean way back in the day 5 years ago. So what are we? We are Safety Wars. We are about safety in the news and everything else. Along those lines. So, just the way it is here. We fight. What are we about, really? Someone asked me that today. We are about empowering the worker, empowering the companies, educating the companies, educating the workers to work safer, and to call something baloney when it's baloney. That's the whole idea of the Signal Transmission Trilogy by Jay Allen. We'll be playing the commercial again later on. That's in our regular rotation. With that, that's what we're about, is empowering people. Do we talk about politics? We'll be talking about politics a little bit later on if we have a chance. Specifically, there was a congressional report issued in the last few days on the Autopen use by our former president, Joe Biden, on his way out of office and even while he was in office there, as to whether, and apparently there's going to be, I'm sure there'll be litigation, there'll be rhetoric, they'll be talking about this crap for next year here. But the fact of the matter is this. 2 ways you can win. And it doesn't matter whether it's politics, sports, life. Doesn't matter. You can win by building yourself up and playing the game, and that could be a political game and everything, by talking about yourself positively, playing hard, and all about you and your skills. Or you have the other extreme where you can knock people down. What's easier? It's always easier to knock other people down. Very difficult to build. Very, very difficult to build. And the people who have not built something don't realize, people who haven't built some things, whether it can be a business, a career, a house, doesn't matter, realize how hard it is to build something. It's long term. How does that translate today, right, into what we're dealing with, either with politics? So right now we're in the middle of a government shutdown. We're going into, today was, depending on how you want to count, day 30 of that shutdown. It's Wednesday, October 29, 2025. This November 1st, this Saturday, we have 47 million people who allegedly will not be receiving SNAP benefits into their account, meaning food stamps, what used to be called popularly food stamps. Certain states, New York being one of them, has a plan for that. What about the state that you're living in? What about if you are receiving these here? And often what happens, and what we're finding out here this week, is that there's a lot of people out there. It could be your neighbor, it could be a service member, it could be someone in your family, are eligible for these benefits and are receiving these benefits. What is your plan for them in your own little circle, your own little community? What is their plan? Right now we have 47 million people in this country receiving them. I don't think that that's really acceptable. But for me to sit down here and say, well, that's not acceptable, and not try to offer a solution and offer a change or offer a way out, is a little bit of a gouverno move here. What's my point? My point is this. We have to work on getting people off of public assistance and becoming self-sufficient. Are we going to be able to do that? With 47 million people in, what is it? We've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3 days. Are we going to be able to do that in 3 days? I don't think so. Sorry, folks. I do not think so. When we get this all resolved, that's what we need to work on. Getting people off of public assistance in a dignified, moral, ethical, and legal sort of way. No need to demean people. Educate people. So yesterday, I found out that a old acquaintance of ours in the Posel family, former Governor Jim Mcgreevey, he's running for mayor of Jersey City, New Jersey. He is involved in a group that educates people who are down on their luck, a re-entry program. So they re-enter society. You re-enter most commonly from prisons or something like that. When I worked for another organization that sometimes worked with him in Jersey City also, that people get out of prison, people are looking to improve themselves, people get out of rehab, people as a requirement of probation were required to go to that program, and basic skills. Both of us is basic skills. Now, Jim Mcgreevey had a mixed record as governor, and he ended up resigning. But this is one of those comeback stories out there. He straightened his life out, right, from all public appearances and from what I've heard privately from people. So he went to seminary to become, I believe, an Anglican or Presbyterian priest. Was ordained, my understanding, and he went out and he started helping people. I think it's one of the great redemption stories out there. So I'm going to encourage everybody to go out there in the New York and New Jersey area, in New York. Yeah, that's how elections are usually run in Hudson County. Right. Pardon me. The night of the voting dead, as we used to call it when I was in politics. They'll go out. You're eligible. Go out and vote for Jim Mcgreevey. Do Jersey City a favor, because I think he's one of the only people who is out there who is understands what the situation is with that community, because he's been working very close with them in Jersey City with the reentry people and dealing with people down on their luck. And I think that's what we need. And he also has experience running large things like the state of New Jersey and along those lines. Now, on the other side of the river, in view of Jersey City, we have the New York City mayoral race there, where we have another former governor running for mayor. That is Governor Cuomo. And right now, nobody knows how this election is going to work out, because we have Zohar Mamdani, Governor Cuomo, and Curtis Sliwa, who, just for complete disclosure, I used to, I don't want to say no, but I met him multiple times way back in the day with him as head of the Guardian Angels. If I was in New York, I'd be voting for Curtis Sliwa just on principle with this, because I would not agree with the other two candidates there. And again, another person who knows the city, deals with people all the time in the city, knows the plight of people. And, one of us, but is also great at crime fighting on the civilian level, also knows the streets, knows the who's who on the streets. His old program with Ron Kuby used to be the byline was from the suites to the streets. I think that's what we can't sit back here, right? And I think, I would vote for Jim Mcgreevey and Curtis Sliwa for the same reason, and that is they deal with people every day out in the streets. They deal with people who are at risk. They deal with people like that. I think they know how to talk, how to speak, how to motivate, and everything else that goes with it. And that's all I'm going to say. That's our opening. We're going to go to commercial break, and we'll have some more talk here in a few minutes.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all three books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
They seal the bars, they lock the gates. Empty fields under skies of slate. The bread's a ghost on the table's edge. Hope whispers weak on a broken pledge. No plow, no grain just hunger's chain. They feed your lies but starve your soul. Control the crop to take control. Red hunger's grip, it leaves no trace. The famine's mask, a hollowed face.
So last night, I had a commentary, I just had it just now, with food. Weaponizing food. Food has been used as a weapon for an awful long time. And that song we had, again, Safety Warrior exclusive here. Let's remember, governments have used food as a weapon for a long time. And here we have another situation with what we're going through possibly weaponizing.
Control the crop to take control.
Sorry, I'm going to call it like this with that. So now let's move on to other news stories. Alright, what do we got? Let's start out with some EPA news. OSHA, again with the shutdown, not too much going on with OSHA here. EPA approves Alaska's air quality plan for Fairbanks, North Star Borough, and saving Alaskans, from costly provisions. This is from today. Today, the U.S. EPA is announcing the approval of Alaska's reworked Fairbanks PM 2.5 State Implementation Plan. That's a SIP, which removes, let me share this. I can do this government website here. Which removes burdensome Biden-era regulations while still protecting human health and fulfilling the Clean Air Act requirements in Fairbanks North Star Borough. An early version of the SIP was proposed for approval by the Biden-Harris EPA on January 8, 2025. However, after the two 30-day public comment periods, Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation, ADAC, withdrew the portion that requires home sellers to obtain an energy rating and impose compliance requirements on realtors during a home sale. This unnecessary and costly provision would hurt Alaskans, including the many service members who sell their house when deployed. The Trump EPA found the provision's removal will not compromise Alaska's ability to achieve the attainment with 2006 PM 2.5 24-hour NAC, that's National Ambient Air Quality Standard, that the SIP remains fully approvable. And there's a quote from Lee Zeldin, EPA Administrator. Quote, Alaskans shouldn't have to sacrifice their way of life to protect human health and the environment. Today's updated PM 2.5 State Implementation Plan proves that both goals are achievable. Through cooperative federalism, Alaska developed a solution that safeguards the health of Fairbanks North Star Borough residents while preserving affordable home heating options. This exemplifies how we can power the great American comeback through common sense, locally driven solutions. And it goes on and on and on. So, a little bit of background here. On October 17, 2006, EPA strengthened the 24-hour PM 2.5 NACs to 35 micrograms per cubic meter. That's not a lot, folks. On November 13, 2009, EPA designated a portion of the Fairbanks North Star Borough as non-attainment for that standard. 24-hour standard on there, requiring Alaska to prepare and submit an attainment plan. On May 10, 2017, EPA reclassified the Fairbanks non-attainment area from moderate to serious, requiring the state to submit a serious area attainment plan. On December 5, 2023, EPA issued a partial approval and partial disapproval on the state's plan for the remaining elements required for a serious non-attainment area. EPA's disapproval resulted in triggering sanction clocks and transportation conformity freeze. Right, 2-to-1 offset NSR sanctions became effective 18 months after disapproval. Federal transportation sanctions and federal plan obligations 24 months after disapproval. So basically, there is a website you could check out here. I went into that a little bit more in depth. I'm not exactly sure everything, but here is their Fairbanks air quality plan. It seems to be very extensive here with this. So something to check out if you're interested. been going on almost for 20 years with this, messing around with this. It's, Here's from October 27th, EPA issues final rule approval for copper mining project in Utah. This is out of Denver, Region 8 News. Today, U.S. EPA approved an aquifer exemption request from the Utah Department of Environmental Quality that will allow the expansion of copper mining in part of the Burro Canyon Aquifer in San Juan County, Utah. Working with UDEC, EPA determined that a limited portion of the Burro Canyon Aquifer does not and will not serve as a source of drinking water. This determination will allow the Lisbon Valley Mining Company to expand current mining operations to include underground recovery of copper, a vital mineral, and aligns with bolstering American mineral production, a key priority for the Trump administration. Now, let me point out, I heard an interview the other day from a industry person in the mining industry. Basically, it's with the administration, according to the interview I heard, and I have no doubt I've gotten a little bit into this. I know a little bit about this. As I say, a little bit is dangerous, a little bit of knowledge. My understanding is that it will take, because these mines have been shut for many years, and people still maintain the rights to the mines, but since a lot of these mines have been closed for many years, they're not going to be able to extract the minerals from these things for an awful long time. We're talking years until they get their stuff together here to get things going, because one, you have to, in a lot of these cases, recommission the equipment, recommission what you're doing with the equipment, how you're going to get the mine, and I'm sure there's a list of approvals, then you have to go and do it. And the other thing is this, a lot of these mines have been closed for a generation. Now you have to find the old-timers to go out there and do the work. Right now I'm working in environmental cleanup, and we're finding that out, where the expertise that was there in the 1990s and mid-2000s is not there anymore. A lot of these places, right? So you end up hiring people like me who've been doing this for many years that worked in the industry back in the 1990s and 2000s and early 2010s to go out there and manage these projects. Again, a lot of these projects were because of politics and everything else, a lot of these projects were not cleaned up. So right now, the EPA's policy is to get a lot of these things off of the NPL list, National Priorities List, and now there's more work than there are people to do it. So with that, so that's what we're finding out is that people aren't there, right, to do these. And by the way, when I used to do this, we had exploding drums. We were out there at level B doing these cleanups, long-term cleanups and everything else. Work doesn't seem to be out there, at least in the Northeast, for some time, because we cleaned a lot of these sites up, and now they're going to things that would have never been cleaned, that were so low on the priorities list, would have never made the NPL, are now making the NPL. So, update, cleanup continues in Tangipahoa Parish in Louisiana. So, U.S. EPA continues to oversee the Smitty, we've been covering this story, the Smitty Supply fire cleanup response being carried out by Smitty Supply in the state of Louisiana. Under a consent order, the company took over the cleanup of the facility on October 15th. At the same time, the EPA issued a pollution removal funding authorization to the state of Louisiana to continue cleanup efforts on the Tangipahoa River and in nearby ponds under EPA oversight. The Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality has been performing the cleanup on the river and ponds as the state on-scene coordinator, working under EPA as the federal on-scene coordinator. So today, and this was on the 24th, last Friday, Tangipahoa Parish is reopening highways 51 and 10, Motorists are advised by the parish to reduce speed and be aware of large vehicles coming from the site. Highway 10 may drop to one lane depending on the needs of current operations. So they're moving right along there. And here we go. Here's the cleanup. The response by the numbers. 11,771,520 gallons of liquid waste recovered. 8 million plus gallons of liquid waste removed. 103 EPA and contractor personnel deployed, and 279 Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality, LDEC, and contractor personnel deployed. So they have a website here with that. Let's click on that, see what we got. Of course, the link is dead. Let's try that again. This is what happens when you have a government shutdown, right? Dead links. All right. So that's what we have there. Let's go on through. A lot of stuff going on. We're going to talk about one of the things here. Let me click on through. Let's just start one by one, left to right on my screen. So the problems with this is from the EPA Health, right? The problems with an expanding autism diagnosis. As autism diagnosis criteria have expanded over the years, experts worry that the lines between being autistic and normal are becoming blurred. And the stories in the Epoch Times, updated Monday. Story by Mariana Zhang. So what it comes down to is this. Here. Autism was once a condition associated with disrupted and non-communicative children who were destined to live out these problems as adults, yet 50 years later after diagnosis was first introduced. Autism experts have felt the need to create a new label to remind the public of how profoundly disabling it can be. In December 2021, The Lancet, which is a journal, a medical journal, commissioned a report on how best to care for autistic people. As among its many proposals, one stood out. The commission, led by Catherine Lord, Distinguished Professor of Psychiatry and Education at the University of California, Los Angeles, recommended introducing the term profound autism for individuals who will never be able to live independently, require 24-hour support, and are minimally verbal and have an IQ below 50. Right? A lot of the media has been focused on the bright, verbal, autistic individuals. Dr. Lloyd told the Epoch Times the same happening in research. She expressed concern that people who are profoundly autistic are being overlooked, noting that the gulf between the two ends of the spectrum is wider than ever. So, one of the arguments on the rise of autism is that they keep on changing the definition. It seems every so often with this. And I tell you what, when you take these autism tests, and I've heard this from more than one person, a lot of people say, well, you know what? I could be autistic or things like that. So now there's a blur, at least according to this article, I'll summarize it, between what exactly is autism or is it normal behavior and all this. And I think this debate is going to go on, but this is a debate that has to happen, a conversation that has to happen. With this whole thing, and more information does not make us more stupid. Makes us less stupid. Here's something here also. This is from the Epoch Times also. RFK Jr. says officials exploring feasibility of breaking up the MMR vaccine. I would share with this CDC announcement here, but they're not updating their website. Federal officials or HHS in this case, are looking at separating vaccines for the measles and several other diseases into individual shots, said Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We're looking at the feasibility of that now. Again, Kennedy did not offer more details. Immunizations for measles, mumps, and rubella will be best administered as 3 separate vaccines. A spokesperson for the Health and Human Services Department of Health and Human Services told the Epoch Times in an email. Standalone vaccinations can potentially reduce the risk of side effects and can maximize parental choice in childhood immunizations. As I've always said, and what is the policy here, you need to talk to your medical professional on exactly what is appropriate and what your situation is with these vaccinations and everything else. I know I have had an adverse reaction to a vaccination. I'm not going to say which one. They are not pretty with that. And what the idea is can you prove that thing? And can you go through the legal process? One of the issues is that, controversial, but it does make some sense, is that vaccine manufacturers, generally speaking, are immune and from any type of liability. And that all goes to what is commonly called a vaccine court, which my understanding is a complete nightmare to deal with. So, again, follow what your medical professional and doctor says that you should do. Take that into account. The CDC Vaccine Advisory Panel's October meeting has been delayed. The Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, which met in September, has been scheduled to convene again in October, but has not happened yet. Right? The CDC site now says the dates for the next meeting, stated to be the last one of 2025, are to be determined. What does that? Why is that? Well, we have issues here with the government shutdown. Again, this is starting to hurt. In the September meeting, advisors voted to recommend the CDC endorse standalone chickenpox vaccination for younger children rather than a combination vaccine containing a varicella antigen. They also said the CDC should change its broad COVID-19 vaccine recommendation to one that emphasizes individual decision-making. And, there's some other stuff going on there, so I think this has to do a little bit with the government shutdown. Here's another consequence of this government shutdown. Obamacare premiums set to soar ahead of open enrollment. Premiums for state enrollees are rising 17%, while premiums for others are spiking 30%, according to a new analysis of recently released data. Premiums for people buying health insurance through the Affordable Care Act marketplaces are soaring ahead of the start of the open enrollment period, new data show. They are rising 17%. And allegedly, and premiums for enrollees using healthcare.gov, the federally run marketplace, are spiking an average of 30%. With that, again, I had my context when I had an employee on I supplied healthcare. When she went to Cobra, she says, "You mean to tell me that the insurance is this price?" I said, "Yeah, that's one of the that's one of the lower right premiums." I said, "You could get the gold standard here and be paying $2,000 a month or more for health insurance on Cobra, maybe more." Well, why was that? I said, because of the Affordable Care Act. I said, the Affordable Care Act, I was paying $283 a month for a private insurance policy. That private insurance policy, when the Affordable Care Act had fully kicked in, had risen to over $1,000. I said, again, long-term stuff. Now what are we going to do? People are not going to have health insurance? Let's see how that works out for us. You think you got problems with the food? Wait until you got food and now this one. Again, no thought. Now, we have not talked about the Ukraine war in some time here, so let's... Right? Russia tests nuclear-capable Poseidon super torpedo. The test is the second time Moscow has tried out part of its nuclear arsenal this month, following testing of the Bereznik cruise missile on October 21st. My mother always used to complain about Russian pronunciations, but anyway. Russia successfully tested a Poseidon nuclear-powered and nuclear-capable super torpedo, Russian President Vladimir Putin said today. Some military analysts say the weapon is capable of devastating coastal regions by triggering enormous radioactive ocean swells. This has been talked about with this sort of thing for many, many years. And as we recall, when I was doing research for my book, which I'm going to reissue, I made a decision within the next year, Nuclear Terrorism. You might be able to get a copy of that on the resale market. They've been talking about this thing for generations at this point here, because they find out that water is more destructive, possibly, than other things out there. So, 13 years ago this night, we were hunkered down with Superstorm Sandy here in the Northeast, dealing with the aftermath of it. And within an hour of its hitting Rockland County, where I was living at the time, the border of Bergen and Rockland County. Bergen County was at the end of my driveway. Within an hour of the storm hitting, we had power, without power for, I believe it was 12 days. And what's the idea is to prepare. We do not know what these people in Moscow, Washington, London, NATO, or Canada, or any of these other countries are going to do on the nuclear issues. Here, I don't know if Canada has nuclear weapons, but anyway, I'll include them in there. I don't know what's going to happen here. You don't know what's going to happen. You know what situation you're going to be in. So what's the idea? You got to go and prepare. Prepare for stuff slowly, consistently. With that, and that's what the moral of the story here is. Okay, just covered that. Here you go. Polish jets intercept Russian plane over Baltic Sea. The incident comes amid a recent spate of violations of NATO nations' airspace by Russian planes and drones. So Polish MiG-29s, right, they have here. Why would they put this? MiG-29, those Poles, pardon me, hiccups. Those Poles still have MiG-29s? I don't know. Let's check that out on, here, hold on. Yes, Poland still has a small number, this is from AI Overview on Google, has a small number of MiG-29s in service, but it has been transferring them to Ukraine and plans to transfer more once replacement aircraft are secured. Wow. The country has 10 or 15 remaining MiG-29s for its own air defense until it can fully rely on F-16 and F-35 aircraft. Wow. So here we have Polish fighters, and no, they have the MiG-29s in this story here on the EPA. So I don't think that they still have MiG-29. But anyway, I'm not an Air Force guy. Polish fighters intercepted a Russian plane on Tuesday that was flying a reconnaissance mission in international airspace over the Baltic Sea. Polish Army said on October 29th, that's today, the Russian plane was flying without a filed flight plan and its transponder was turned off. On October 28th, a pair of on-duty MiG-29 Polish Air Force fighters successfully intercepted and visually identified and escorted a Russian aircraft out of the area of responsibility, which has been connecting the flight over the Baltic Sea. Wow. I don't know. Sooner or later, this is going to be turned. Someone's going to make a mistake here. This is from the Jerusalem Post here. Iran has purchased over 200,000 pounds of sodium perchlorate since the 12th day of the war, enough to produce fuel for 500 ballistic missiles. So, perchlorate, in this case, sodium perchlorate, I don't know if this is liquid or solid, fuel, is, hold on. White crystalline solid. So this is solid fuel here. Sodium chlorate. I was on ammonium perchlorate cleanup several years ago in San Jose, California. So that's why I had to let, so sodium perchlorate. So this is pretty interesting how they make these missiles here. with this. So Iran's rebuilding its ballistic missile manufacturing capabilities with aid from China, despite the guidance of UN sanctions. So basically, with solid rocket fuel, they make like a mold, like a bread mold, and they mix the rocket fuel, right, with sodium, in this case, sodium perchlorate, but they also other things, usually metals like aluminum, into like they use an industrial mixer to make this like dough, or like batter would probably be a better description of it, and they pour it in this mold and they let it cure and harden, and you have a missile. I'm not telling any secrets here. I think that's pretty well knowledge for anyone who wants to know that. So, what can be, it can either be used for innocent purposes or as a key ingredient in the production of ammonium perchlorate. Okay, so ammonium perchlorate is an oxidizer used in solid fuel propellant to build Iranian ballistic missiles. There, so, that's there. So we know a little something about that. All right, so basically what it is with ammonium perchlorate, you have an oxidizer, you have a fuel in the same molecule. And I believe it's 56% oxidizer in that fuel. So all that you need is energy and shock sensitive, right? Once it's in the proper, I'm not going to explain how to do that. Under the proper conditions, it becomes shock sensitive. That's when I put up the fire tetrahedron or the fire triangle. I always say it's not heat necessary. It is energy that you're introducing into that, and it can explode. So it makes it shock sensitive. Okay, so Hurricane Melissa, made landfall in Jamaica as a Category 5 storm, and U.S. Department of State on Wednesday said it will be deploying emergency teams to Caribbean countries that were slammed by Hurricane Melissa this week. In response to catastrophic damage caused by Hurricane Melissa in many Caribbean countries, the State Department is deploying a regional disaster assistance response team that is a DART team, an activated U.S.-based Urban Search and Rescue, USR, teams to bolster response, the department said on X. So, okay, so that's good. At least that's not cut. They're reporting 30 people dead in Jamaica. Here. You do. Okay. U.S. military is withdrawing some trips from Eastern Europe. This is off of CNN. Natasha Bertrand. The U.S. is withdrawing some troops from Romania on NATO's eastern flank as the Pentagon works to shift its focus away from Europe and toward homeland defense and Latin America. U.S. and European officials said on Wednesday the U.S. is sending home the 2nd Infantry Brigade combat team of the 101st Airborne Division back to Kentucky and will not be replacing the unit after its scheduled rotation out of Eastern Europe. The redeployment becomes as the eastern flank of NATO countries have faced a spike in threats from Russia in recent weeks, including multiple drone incursions in Polish airspace, repeated violations of Lithuanian airspace. Right? Okay, so we're going to take another commercial break, and we're going to set up the remainder of the program here. So,
have you listened or watched the Safety War Show? It does stream live on the radio and on the streamer-emers that we have. So if you have not taken a listen to Jim Posel and what the hell he's doing every evening with Safety Wars, I would strongly encourage you to take a view or take a listen, whichever option is available for you, and take a listen to what the hell he has going on. It will take some deep dives and some information that you might be interested in.
In an unpredictable world, one voice rises above the chaos. Meet Jim Posel, a seasoned safety expert who's navigated through some of the most dangerous scenarios, from anthrax, explosive cleanups, disasters, and numerous environmental cleanups, and lived to tell the tale. Now he's bringing his wealth of knowledge, insights, and experiences to you through Safety Wars. From workplace hazards to the hidden dangers in your own home. Jim covers it all with his engaging storytelling. Safety Wars isn't just a podcast. It's your guide to a safer world. Join Jim Pozo and become part of the Safety Wars revolution. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts and videos. Safety Wars. Your safety is our mission.
Strapped tight, ain't no joke. Gotta hold steady, can't let it choke. Don't rock the safety boat. Keep it smooth, keep it afloat. Dance on that, but don't provoke. Don't rock the safety boat.
So I'm giving you your warning. We have political content here. Political content. Not for the faint of heart. So, I always give a warning, so you can't, you're right with this. So, there's been a lot of talk out there, and people are saying, well, we're not going through this. We had a national radio talk show host say, well, we're not going to talk about this. We're just going to put it up on the website. You can read it for yourself, blah, blah, blah. And we're not going to put the whole thing up. We're going to read it. Just parts of it. Okay, well, that's great. So this is, and I'm going to share this because this is a government document here. The Biden Autopen presidency declined collusion and deception in the White House. This is a report prepared by the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Majority staff came out last night. Pardon me. So basically, they are investigating the Biden administration because of the use of the Autopen there, which automatically signs things as the signature, and it's been around, my understanding, since the early 1800s, but you're not supposed to use it for certain things. And the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, led by Chairman James Comer, has investigated the circumstances surrounding President Joe Biden's diminishing mental and physical capabilities, the implications of that design. Even more troubling than the president experiencing a decline in mental acuity was President Biden's inner circle of loyalists attempting to mislead the nation to ignore what people's eyes plainly showed them. Again, not Jimmy Posel here. This is being read from the report. Throughout President Biden's term, people increasingly questioned if the slurring of words, mistaking of names, visible disorientation, confusion, and dependence on aides for basic direction, all of which the public witnessed live, could indicate anything but the serious cognitive decline of President Biden. The committee has investigated whether senior Biden White House officials possibly exercised the authority of the former president or intentionally concealed President Biden's rapidly worsening mental and physical state. The committee has found evidence to indicate that they did both. All right, so that is paragraph number 1. And it goes on with that. And let's see if we have. The committee's investigation revealed that Biden officials, at best at the behest of Inner Circle, went to great lengths to prop up the former president as he began losing his ability to independently function in office. And it includes all aspects of that, and we won't go on listing them. The investigation revealed holes in the chain of custody of the president's decision binder, which contained decision memos to be signed or initialed by President Biden when approving or disapproving executive actions, as well as numerous instances in which the president's approval for an executive action, the chief of staff's approval of signature by Autopen, was not memorialized. So what does this mean? The other reason why we're reading this, right? This is the kind of stuff that your high school or college civics course, even if you never, even if they still offer those, do not go into. It's the inner workings. So I did not know that there is a decision memo book with this, and it has a chain of custody. Who knew this? You're in the environmental safety field, you break the chain of custody, you're going to have a freaking problem. That's all I have to say. Here we have somebody doing this. Among the most flagrant of these instances are the clemency actions taken in the final days of Biden's presidency. Let me see if I could zoom in a little bit here. Testimony before the committee confirmed the pardons signed on January 19th, which included pardons for members of President Biden's family, were apparently the result of an in-person meeting in the final hours of the presidency, and for which there is no contemporaneous documentation. So instead of actual documentation, the decision to grant these funds was allegedly communicated secondhand to a Zients aide. I don't know what Zients aide is. Rosa Poe, who then called Zients, who I don't know who Zients is. That's a person apparently, who verbally authorized the use of the Autopen from home. Zients did not even know who actually used the Autopen to apply the signature after his aide, using his email account with his permission, communicated that the Autopen was authorized for the clemency action. Zients did so without confirming with President Biden that he had, in fact, granted these pardons after repeatedly telling the American people he would not pardon his son, Hunter, let alone the 5 other family members. Right? With that, and the report goes on and on and on. And here's the final recommendation here. The final 2 paragraphs. The investigation's findings detailed here and make clear that as President Biden was losing command of himself throughout his time in office, his executive actions, especially pardons, of which there are many, cannot all be deemed his own. The authority to grant pardons is not provided to the president's inner circle, nor can it be delegated to particular staff when the president's competency is in question. Importantly, even if this authority could be delegated, which it cannot, it would have to be expressly delegated by President Biden himself. The Constitution is clear. The President shall have the power to grant reprieves and pardons for all offenses against the United States. And constitutional scholars have explained the history confirms that the Constitution's location of pardon power is significant. The President must make the decisions, and the courts can hold pardons void if the decisions are made by others. Right? End quote. So that was, who said that? Philip Hamburger in the Personal Pardon Power from Law and Liberty, June 24, 2025, available at lawliberty.org, the Personal Pardon Power. The committee, just so you know, it's not Jimmy Posel saying this, all right? The committee recommends that the Department of Justice investigate all the former President Biden's executive actions, particularly clemency actions, to assess whether legal action must be taken to avoid any action that the former president did not, in fact, make himself. I don't think that this is going to go anywhere. Can you imagine the legal mess there that's going to happen if they start going through this stuff? Where does it end? Again, your response, human organizational performance, your response to failure matters. And where was the failure there? 2020. The election, everything that went on there. Again, going back and doing that, I don't know what the utility. Going back, what are you going to do? Negate everything? Negate 4 years of Biden presidency now? Or are we just going to concentrate on pardons? There's no ending to this. It's called a circle. No end to a circle. It's a Mobius strip. One-sided. Republicans are having the same issue, and the Democrats are having the same issue. They're trying to rerun an old election. I understand that you're upset, but to continuously rerun the election, not worried about the future. What are you trying to do? Take out your political opponents through the legal system, the lawfare system, like they did, like the Democrats did? With this, Some of those lawsuits were legitimate, some of them not. But however, this is, again, you'll never get Biden. What are you going to get? Get all the underlings underneath him? I don't know if this is a good circle to continue to go around. At a certain point, turn the page. Start concentrating. And, you can go and point this out in your campaigns, what happened here. However, what you need to do is concentrate on building new people. Concentrate on bringing new people in. Concentrate on getting along with each other. Concentrate on working for the American people. To continuously go back here and do this. Again, leave it to the academics here. Leave it to, people like Safety Wars to read these reports online. The continuous go back. It's sort of like when you have a accident and it's been resolved, it's been fixed, and you may be bad solutions, and you keep on trying to redo that last report. It looks ridiculous here now. This is at a certain point, this is going to be really ridiculous. With this retribution, I understand retribution feels great. There's a lot of people I want to go out there. There's a lot of people out there that I want to go out there and say, along the lines of you. A lot of people out there. That feels really good. You go out there and say you. Right? That sounds really good. But is it really conducive to anything that you're doing? Is it really building something? And that's what we got to do. Build bridges. Don't burn them. Don't worry about burning bridges. Build bridges. Get everybody together. I started out the program in the monologue endorsing a Democrat and a Republican. The way it is. And those are my, if I was a voter, I would go with that. Can we have a little bit more of that? Not that I'm virtue signaling, oh, look at me, blah, 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 blah. But at a certain point, we have to work together here. And with that, it's the art of what can get done. It's called leadership. Where are we seeing the leadership here? Yelling and screaming at each other? Oh, well, we're going to get that in the latest with Mamdani. Well, we're going to go after his immigration status because you're not allowed to be a member of the Communist Party and be a naturalized citizen. Right? Get citizen. Did he lie on his paperwork? Well, now what are you going to do? He's going to get elected, possibly, in the city of New York. Now we're going to deport you? How's that going to work? Is he going to be able to run the country from Somalia? Who knows? This is the kind of stuff that goes on. And that's why you have to concentrate on working and defeating people decisively in politics. This close election, and then we're going to sue the living hell. And if we lose the election, we're going to sue, and we're going to go after people. We're going to prosecute people. This is, like Governor David Patterson said this past weekend, this is ridiculous. Someone's going to break the chain, and, pardon me, and when you go and you do this to people, you invite it on yourself. So that's what we have here. For Safety Wars, this is Jim Posel, and I hope to be seeing you tomorrow night. We'll see how it is. We're supposed to get a very bad nor'easter here. Hopefully the internet won't go down. Not nor'easter, just a regular storm here. Hopefully we don't lose the internet here. For Safety Wars and Safety FM is Jim Posel.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.